All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Mind, Body, Spirit Virtual Summit. Today, I'm very excited for our guest, a dear friend and colleague of mine, Dr. Carroll. So, I'm going to intro you guys to him real quick, and then we'll get to questions. So, Dr. Carroll is a Maine and Massachusetts board-certified chiropractor specializing in applied kinesiology. He brings an integrative background in kinesiology, functional medicine, functional movement, and spirit, mind, body techniques to his chiropractic practice. Always experimenting and optimizing human performance, Dr. Carroll founded Triune LLC in October 2016 by launching his first formulated supplement, Adrenal Recharge. Adrenal Recharge combines Dr. Carroll's years of personal and clinical experience treating and healing patients with a countless variety of conditions such as chronic fatigue, anxiety, chronic pain, insomnia, thyroid disorders, and more. Dr. Carroll's in the R&D stages of 2 to 4 more formulas that will be launching over the next 2 to 5 years, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah, all right.
Totally. So, welcome, Dr. Carroll. For you guys that don't know, Dr. Christian and I go way back to chiropractic school together, and I'm so excited to have him on the summit. Yeah, OG chiropractic friends.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
Excited to be here.
Yeah. So, I'd love for our listeners to hear your story, more about you. So, what got you into the healing arts?
Sure. So, it starts in high school. I was playing hockey junior year in high school, had a bad habit of trying to hit the biggest kid on the other team, and just crashed into the boards and ruined at the time, the SI joint, and went to physical therapy and was getting stronger and knew the rehab exercises and things like that, but I was not able to skate without pain. And my mom suggested, hey, why don't you check out my chiropractor? And I had never heard of really chiropractic before. And so I went, and Dr. Jen Belisi, she adjusted me, did some stim and hot packs, and I was like back on the ice within a couple of days. I was like, wow, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And that was kind of my foray into chiropractic, and she ended up hiring me as an intern at the summers, like when I would come back from college, and so I just got to see chiropractic personally, and then from like the business aspect, did mentorship from Dr. Jen, and kind of took it from there. And then she went to National in Chicago, which is obviously where I know Dr. Abby, mm-hmm. And I only applied to one school because I knew that was where I was going. Yeah. It was like, there's a saying under old docs that you don't pick chiropractic picks you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I love it. Okay, so now you're in chiropractic school at National. You'd been to like a traditional chiropractor who did adjusting and stim and all that kind of stuff. But now I know you and like how you really practice. So I'd love to know what catapulted you into the applied kinesiology, like more holistic view.
Yeah, totally. It started actually second try. Ran into this doc, Jordan Bray, and he was doing some really cool stuff, and I saw him do some stuff on me that kind of blew my mind, and I was like, you shouldn't be able to figure that out. Like, no one's been able to figure that out. And so that got me interested because I like when people do cool stuff. And, just like that kind of willingness to take it to the next level. And so I found AK, and the seminars were coming through Chicago, which is an awesome city to host a lot of these things. And that's how I found it. And it came at a really great time in my life. I was a couple semesters into chiropractic school, and I was starting to get burnout. And I had Lyme before in college. And so, the thing that I loved about AK was the triangle. Mm-hmm. They talk about, the first chiropractor ever, D.D. Palmer, had 3 things that would cause any type of disease, and he labeled it as trauma, toxins, and autosuggestion. And it took me a long time to figure out what autosuggestion was, but I found it in Think and Grow Rich. There's a whole chapter in it by Napoleon Hill. It's a famous book that a lot of well-known people have read. And autosuggestion is essentially like when someone tells you something, oh, you're good at that, or oh, you're that person, or oh, you can't do that, or you're not creative, or you're, whatever, right? So, and if you believe that, that's when it becomes a belief system, and that's what changes you. And if it's out of alignment with who you are, then that can lead to diseases, symptoms, whatever.
Yes.
And so that kind of like that threefold thing, Dr. Goodhart, that we learned in applied kinesiology, took that and basically said the body can be broken down into 3 equilateral parts: structural, biochemical, and the mental, emotional, spiritual side. Mm-hmm. And I just totally jabbed at that. So the physical aspect I got introduced from that hockey injury. The biochemistry aspect I got introduced to when I got Lyme disease, and when I had in high school and college, I had really bad acne all over my face, like just covered everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I took every antibiotic in the world. It was like a pharmaceutical rep, like was my dermatologist or something. Nothing against dermatologists, but that I was on minocycline, tetracycline, doxycycline.
Yeah.
And none of them worked, and it was ruining my gut, as I know now more. But I was
I
on the
didn't know that about you.
What, you didn't know that?
No. That's before I knew you.
Oh, yeah,
crazy.
totally. I would get into all sorts of crazy stuff.
Wow. All right.
Well, so then I met the acupuncturist who worked for the chiropractor, or worked in the same office as the chiropractor that got me into chiropractic.
Right.
And then they introduced me to Chinese medicine and Weston A. Price and all that good eating. And that's when I changed my diet when I was like a freshman in college.
That's hilarious.
I was making kombucha in my dorm room. My friends thought I was crazy. They still joke about it.
Yeah. Because you're like the Tim Ferriss Jr., like biohacking everything and trying everything.
Oh, totally. I did the Gerson therapy. I was doing, like, I did a 23-day juice cleanse. I turned orange in chiropractic school because I got hyperbeta-carotemia. I've been all over. Yeah.
I love it. That's awesome. Yeah. Okay, so perfect. Well, so I'm going to say shout out to Dr. Jordan Bray, who I'm sure is watching this.
Shout out to Dr. Bray. It's awesome.
He's introduced a few people on this summit to applied kinesiology. So that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to kind of segue somewhere else now. So me knowing you personally, I would say you're a very spiritual person.
Yeah.
So how do you combine spirituality into the work you do, like in the office with your patients?
Really good question. Are you talking in terms of like how other doctors can see it? Or are you talking in terms of like how patients can see it, or
like with like your patient care? How do you incorporate that, or like how do you know if that is something that's maybe missing in a person's life, or if there's something spiritual going on with them?
Nice. Yeah, so back to the triangle, right? So there's three aspects of what drives people. So, like patients today, like I'm actually fresh off of a patient shift today. We saw 26 people today. And, when someone comes in, neck, shoulder, wrist, knee, back, whatever it is, if you address the muscles and you address the spine and you address the nutritional aspects of it, that will fix most of it. But most of the time, there's an extra component. Mm-hmm. We know that pain has a very emotional component to it. I mean, like, you don't feel pain unless your thalamus decides that it should be painful. Like, that's kind of the gatekeeper in the brain. And so the thalamus is obviously influenced by the limbic system, which is processing all those emotions. So at least what I've learned from neuroemotional techniques and Chinese medicine, here's a cool breakdown. So if you're watching this, check this out. So if you come in with right-sided stuff, right neck, right shoulder, elbow, wrist, hip, low back, whatever. If it's right-sided stuff, it has a female-based relationship component. If it's left side, it's male. The way to remember that is women are always right.
That's awesome.
I'm getting married this summer, so I'm ready.
You just scored some brownie points by saying that.
Got some brownie points there.
Now, would you say, though, like, if their problem is always right-sided, you're saying that's a kind of a female relationship issue, but could that also be, like, a lack of feminine energy? Not necessarily too much, but, like, deficient in?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, there's always your own stuff, too. So when I say, like, female relationships on the right, if you're a female, it also could be you. And then for the male, it could also be, like, their feminine side. We are in a very hyper-masculine society. Right. So that obviously shifts a lot. But I'll give you a great example. Like, today, patient comes in, right neck, right upper ribs, right low back, radiating into her right knee with a sciatic-type pain. And, I basically asked, they were bent over in pain. All the pain meds at the hospitals weren't working. They took an MRI. It was all sorts of junk, all that stuff. And they were just sick and tired of it. And so I cleared out all the stuff, and I just said, like, part of, healing is addressing that spiritual, emotional, mental side. And I just know from Chinese medicine that the right side is related to, female relationships and everything. Is there a female in your life that's causing some stress?
Right.
And just like immediately, I that's how I say it. I try not to be like super invasive, but I try to honor that, like, that's what the body's saying, because John Diamond wrote a book, The Body Doesn't Lie, so it's going to show you stuff.
Right.
And the new patient just started crying. It's like, oh.
Right. Here we go.
So,
yeah.
I was like, oh boy.
Right.
And I didn't go further than that. Other than just to introduce that for follow up stuff is like,
right.
This is going to be something you want to address.
Right.
That he's been divorced. He has he has 2 daughter-in-laws that are going through a really hard time. There's obviously more to the story. I can't obviously tell you because patient-doctor confidentiality, but it was like right on. I mean, and literally, I wish it was like 90%. It's 100%. There's always a component.
And wouldn't you say that, like, if that part wasn't addressed, it's more not a matter of if, it's like when those symptoms are going to come back?
Oh, yeah.
Because
I mean, like, your design, like, just think about the way the universe is designed. There's spiritual, mental, emotional, physical. So by the time something shows up physically, there's almost always something going on in the higher levels. Mm-hmm. You just got to look at it. Like, the body's on your team. So many people think that the body's against them. They're like, oh, I'm hurting. I wish that my body would just work. Right. And it's like, what if the body isn't doing that to you? What if the body's doing that for you?
Right. Uh-huh. Totally.
It's good.
That is good.
And that's a pivot, too. Like, that's a pivot from being in victim and pivoting victor.
Yep.
Right? So you can turn your mess into a message. So
totally.
That's good.
I love it. Okay. How would you define spirituality?
How would I define spirituality? That's a great question, Dr. Abby. I would define spirituality as your journey back to God.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
That'd be how I define it in like a really simple way.
Right.
Yeah.
Simple's good.
And it's not a destination, it's a journey.
Yep.
It's a path. It's a daily reminder. I think Paul said it best. He said, every day I throw off the old man, I put on the new man. And I think what he meant was, from an identity standpoint, we're constantly shedding the ego, we're shedding our old self, we're shedding things that are less than our true and highest potential, and we're putting on our new identity, which is really our true identity, our higher selves.
Totally. Okay.
That's what I would say is spirituality.
Yeah, absolutely. What would you say is 1 or 2 things people can do, like simple things people could incorporate into their life every day to increase their spirituality or their connection?
All right, so here's a couple things. Let's start with some practical stuff. I'm a big practical guy. I don't like to be like off in la la land without something that you can actually take home and change your life.
Mm-hmm.
So probably some people watching this might have some pain.
Mm-hmm.
So let's address the fast technique. Have you interviewed anyone with that?
I haven't, so this is perfect.
Oh, this is perfect.
Yeah.
All right, so these 2 points right here on your forehead, they're arteries. They go to the limbic part of the brain. The limbic part of the brain is what processes all that emotional stuff. It's our fear, response centering, anxieties, things like that. And so there's arteries right here, and if you light enough pressure, you can actually feel them pulse. Mm-hmm. Instead of trying to figure that, all you have to do is just hold them, like flat. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
Right? And then the other, this is what I give to people, honestly. Like, if I know they're going through a lot of stress, who doesn't have stress? Harvard published a study saying 80% of the causes of disease are stress, so you might as well just address it. Right? So you put a hand on your forehead, one on your heart or your stomach, wherever you carry more of your stress. Mm-hmm. I'm in my chest a lot more, like heart-based stuff. Some people got digestive issues, and they feel it more in their gut. So you just, all you have to do is close your eyes. And you can do this with me while you're watching. You just listen to my voice. And just pick something that stressed you out today. Most people have been triggered by something. Anything that basically brings you out of peace, right?
Right.
Close your eyes. Think about it.
Yep.
Right. And then rank it. Oh, nice. Yeah, you're doing it.
I'll do
it. And just rank it. 0 out of 10. Just for like a little objectivity of like, oh, that was a high stressor. That was like a 10. That was a low stressor. That was like a 2 or 3 or whatever. Mm-hmm. And just pick it. and focus on the feeling. Don't necessarily try to overthink it. Try and get you out of your head and your heart. And just take a deep breath. Blow it out. Let it go. Take a deep breath. Blow it out. Let it go. Just surrender it. Let it go. You know, people always tell me, "Oh, I carry my stress. I carry my stress." My follow-up question is, when are you going to let it go?
Yep.
How are you going to fix shoulder
pain? Do they like cry when you say that?
What's that?
Do they cry when you say that?
I go through a lot of tissues in my office.
I used to say, man, that's an intense question. Someone says that, I can just zing. Yeah.
Bam.
That's good though.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I love my patients and I want to see them in their highest good. So I sometimes will challenge them to get better.
Totally. All right. So we got fast technique.
Yeah, that's a good one. Another uber simple one, like practical style, is, I mean, I don't know if anyone's mentioned meditation, but I literally had a patient this morning call it the hamster wheel. Mm-hmm. And I was like, the monkey mind, you know, just the constant. That's going to affect you at some point. The nervous system is a brake and it's a gas pedal. It's as simple as that. And the brake needs to be applied. And we're all gas in America, at least Western culture. It's just all gas. And that spends your adrenals, it spends your neurotransmitters, and it never allows your body to rest, digest, and heal. So you got to have something to balance that go lifestyle that we have. And that's awesome. I mean, you're creating, you're sharing your talents, you're doing good, but there needs to be a balance in life. There's the yin and yang, right?
Yep.
So, just simply kind of like carve it out. You gotta go to bat for you. So like a lot of people say, oh, I don't have enough time. I heard Tim Ferriss say, if you don't have 3 minutes to meditate, you need 3 hours. If you don't have 3 hours, you need 3 days, something like that.
Totally. Well, and there's Tony Robbins says, like, if you don't have 5 minutes, you don't have a life.
Right,
Which is so true.
Well, Tony.
I
know. So another really simple one is you close your eyes. So you could even, this is like a part of visualization, because I've noticed a lot of patients have a hard time just like sitting there and meditating, or they think it's kind of taboo, or they have their preconceptions about it, or they just can't quiet their mind. They need something to focus on. So this is what I recommend them to do. So I have them sit there, find a quiet spot, close your eyes, focus right here, right behind your sternum, like right at the level of the heart, right in the middle. And just imagine, like, right behind that sternum that there's this white light. And it's just, like, sparkling, pouring out this white light. And I literally, like, imagine, like, mentally that it's filling, like, my body is like a cavern. Mm-hmm. You can go part by part. Like, first you start with the chest, you go into the stomach, into the pelvis, then you go up into the neck, into the head, and, like, fill your head with that. And then go down your arms, down your leg. It's kind of like I always feel really nice when I do it. You should just try it.
Totally.
But yeah, it takes a little bit, probably takes 10 minutes or less. And usually at the end, you're a little bit more quieter.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
It's a non-denominational thing too. Like it's not a religious thing, but you know, so that it's easier for people.
Totally. I love that. Okay.
Yeah. It's all about finding your way.
Totally. And so do you have an example of a patient, or yourself, I guess, but some example of someone embracing spirituality or connecting in, tuning in more to like higher power, higher purpose, and that being like the final thing that actually shifted their health?
Yeah, I have a really great story actually, like literally yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have like an affinity for younger people, because I just think that they have like such an awesome amount of time and life ahead of them. So I had this girl come to find out she's like one of the top 5 distance runners in the entire Northeast. And she's like a total stud, and a bunch of colleges are recruiting her. And she is majorly injury prone. Like she just keeps blowing out. She's got posterior shin splints. She's got regular shin splints. She's got arch issues. She's got knee issues. She's got low back issues. She's got rib stuff. It's like she's a hot mess, right?
Right.
She gets referred to us from another doc and another personal trainer in town that trains like high level athletes in college and things like that, because they weren't getting anywhere with her.
Right.
She was doing all the training. She had coaching. She had therapy. She had all this stuff. And she's just she was in a, I can't share everything about her story
Right.
because I don't want to break confidence, but she was going through a lot. And, I just kind of introduced the triangle to her like I do all my patients.
Sure.
I said, there's basically 3 reasons that would cause any of these issues to be recurring. It's either structural stuff, like muscles, joints, and spines, which obviously you put a lot of miles on because you run a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And nutritionally, so obviously when you have nutritional issues like ligament stuff, you got manganese, you have adrenals, you have different things like that. Joints need muscles, or they need protein and minerals to heal. But she was like doing okay with those 2 sides of the triangle, and I knew that it was that third piece. And I helped her through. I helped her through a couple mental blocks that she had, and over the series of being able to treat her over the last, I think, maybe 6 or 7 months.
Mm-hmm.
So she was gonna commit to the school that she really liked, and it was gonna cost her like a lot of money.
Right.
They weren't giving her a good package. And I kind of felt in my heart that it wasn't the right decision for her, and she would have been saddled with a lot of debt to run.
Right.
And it was just because she felt safer there, not because it was the best place for her.
Right.
She, like, the coach had been like buttering her up and all that stuff. And I just kept clearing out the stuff and just encouraging her to follow her heart, because she had always been told like what her parents said, or different friends had been bullying her and things like that. And she went through a lot she didn't really feel like she had any friends. And like through this course, she literally made friends. She like became outgoing. Like even our office staff was like, have you noticed like how like
she's like a different person?
She's like a different person. Like her trainer called me and was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like,
still my thing.
Her heart's on, what do you want? And so it was really cool. And she just told me literally yesterday that she committed to Loyola. So I actually recommended her come see you.
Wow. And it comes full circle.
Yeah, I was like, dude, I got a doc for you in Chicago that does similar stuff to what I do. You're going to have a blast. Go see Dr. Abby.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Look for a really, like, almost an Olympic level runner coming your way.
Yeah. Nice. All right. That's awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I know, like me, you're like a major bookworm and have read a million things. So I'd love to know, what's like your top 3 resources or books you'd recommend for people like maybe just tiptoeing into spirituality or meditation, like something along those lines. What are great places for people to start to build that connection?
Ooh. Well, I'm looking at my bookshelf next to me. Man, that's a good one. I'm going to hit you with the real stuff. Like,
let's do it.
Like, the Bible helped me a lot. Let's not discount the most.
That's number 1.
Yeah. That is the book. It's the word. So, I was raised Catholic, so I don't know if you knew this, because I didn't know this. Catholics weren't really encouraged to read the Bible. It was like, go to the priest for your spiritual consults.
Like, interpret it,
Yeah, there was no, like, actually you can talk to God. There's no, like, barrier between it. And I ended up changing churches when I was 25, and it just impacted. I've never been the same since. And it was Bible-based, and we were encouraged to read the Word. And so I learned, in Sunday school, it was like, a lot of people I'm sure were raised in Sunday school, maybe straight away from the church, because it was kind of like dogmatic and stuff. But honestly, like, and just being super real with you, I knew all the stories, but I didn't have any of the wisdom, none of the love. It felt very judgmental, very fear-based, Old Testament crap.
Right.
And I was like, dude, this guy, Jesus, he was love-based.
Right.
He's literally, everybody's an equal. Like, all the stuff that's being really trendy now, like, love each other, equality between men and women, and, like, all this stuff was his message.
Right.
It's amazing that it's there. And then there's all this wisdom, like how to live a good life, how to live an abundant life. It's all there. You just got to open it up.
Right.
It's good. That's, I hate to be, if you're not, I understand if you're not a follower, it's a little different, but it's totally changed my life. It's changed my practice. It's changed. I met the woman of my dreams after that. Like, everything has changed.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
All right.
Good.
So what else? Give me a couple more books.
I'd give you a few more that aren't spiritual.
Okay.
Because I think that if you lose the practicality of living in this world, it makes it harder to bring the spiritual world to this world. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
I see a lot of ungrounded spiritual people.
Yep.
Like they're
not here.
What's that?
They're not here.
Yeah, and I don't mean that like in a. It's just like they are taking on this identity to be spiritual, but I'm finding that it's a lot of times because they are afraid of this world. Mm-hmm. Like they're having a hard time navigating this world, and so they're like attaching their labels in their life to this like spiritual stuff, and trying not to be here. But like we gotta be here. Like you got this body, and you're taking it for a test drive for 80 to 120 years. Right. Right.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yep. By the way, it talks about that in Genesis, so that's pretty funny.
There you go.
But you know, like, so I got 2 other books for you, just because I'm really all right. So, like, on the stress side,
yes.
If Harvard published a study saying that 60 to 80% of office visits in the United States in 2013 were because of stress. Yes. This is from MDs. This is not even like Kairos and like all the spiritual people. Right. Like these are MDs saying that stress is causing all these problems. So we got 60 to 80%. I went on to CDC. There was 988 million office visits that year.
That's insane.
So almost a billion office visits.
And that's medical office visits, right? That's probably not preventative stuff.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. So you have almost a billion office visits. Yep. Harvard's posting in JAMA, which is the least foo-foo journal out there, saying that 60 to 80% of visits are stress-related. Yep. How could you not want to address your stress? Right. You're going to be reducing your healthcare costs as a country and individually and as a family by 60 to 80%.
Right. Yep.
So here's the other crazy application of that. Insurance premiums are going up. They're not going down. And deductibles are getting bigger.
Yep.
So if you have like a $5,000 or $6,000 deductible, which I guarantee people that are watching this are having increasing deductibles, that means you got to spend that much out of pocket before insurance starts stepping in. Why not just prevent it?
Right.
So you don't have to spend all that.
Right. Yeah.
And so, you know, if you ask Harvard, it would be to address the stress side. So there's 3 reasons that stress is common. It's money, love, and you. So this summit's going to be a great way of discovering a little deeper aspects of you, but then there's also 2 other things, which is love and money. Mm-hmm. And most people have a lot of stress with that. So my number 1 money book would be, I know this is a little off track, but that's just what I do. You want me to get the book?
Totally.
Yeah, totally. This is a plug for my boy Tony Robbins. Yeah, that would be what I would do.
Totally.
7 habits. It's seven simple steps to financial freedom. You got to read it. People got to know about money. Yep. If you want to be stress-free, and the less stress that you have, the easier it is to connect with your heart. The easier it is to give more. The easier it is to live a spiritual life. I mean, the key to living is giving. So if you have more resources to give, you can have a bigger impact and purpose on this planet, and that's what we're called to do. So yeah, it's exciting.
Yep.
Be 1, and then you obviously got to have a healthy body, so anything related to like diet, like actually the book that actually got me into like the health side was this book, Nourishing Traditions by Sally Fallon. This book got me into the way of looking at diet and in a totally different way, and got me out of all the crap foods.
Was that when you were in college?
What's that? Yeah, that's what it's marked up like that too.
That's funny.
So those are probably lesser known books that people might not have been expecting me to recommend. But I just think had such a huge impact on my life and others that I love. So just throwing that out there.
Awesome. Okay.
I actually got a finance degree in undergrad, so like I am passionate about that. So that's probably why I threw it in there.
Totally. No, it's all good.
Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of stress and like staying balanced and having that place of balance, how do you, like, throughout your day, you're busy, you go in your office, you see 25 to 30 people a day, which is a lot, right? A lot of output, okay?
Yep.
So how do you keep yourself balanced throughout the day? Like, what are your practices?
Nice question. I think about this all the time. And actually, this is something that I'm always trying to take to the next level, like my energy, my focus. So here's what I've noticed. I try to take a multiple factor approach. I got to have some breakfast in the morning. I have tried to do the intermittent fasting, and I have not been able to do that. I know that's really popular right now.
Yeah.
I need to have like some protein-based breakfast. You don't want to be too sugary. Stay away from grains and carbs and things like that because you'll end up crashing by 10:30 and you still got to make it to lunch. I mean, I treat people every 15 minutes, and you can't like log out. Like right. They're literally right in front of you, and you can't space out. So you have to bring a ton of energy because you got to build them up. You got to work on them physically, so you got to have energy and physicality. So I have to eat breakfast.
Yep.
That's important. I don't have like this really special morning routine. I pray in the car on the way to work. I ask for miracles to be flowing through me. I ask wisdom to see patients and their problems. I ask for empathy and love, to have compassion for them and to love people. I think that if you have love and you have service in your heart and you love people and you see them as your brother or sister, that you can do really special things. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, like that's honestly, that's my prayer every morning. Mm-hmm. I pray for protection. You need protection. We have, people that are watching this know that there's stressed out, negative people walking around. Some people call them vampires. Some people call them demons, whatever you want to call them.
Right.
It's out there. And so you got to protect.
Yeah.
So there's a great scripture in Ephesians. It's on the armor of God. So I pray for the armor of God. I pray for Archangel Michael to protect me and my family, my patients, that kind of stuff. You need to have like some sort of shield. Like if you want to bring light to this world, people call themselves light workers or whatever. You have to shield. Like you have to.
Yeah. Totally.
There's a what I forget who said it. It's like if you don't want criticism, be nothing, say nothing, do nothing.
Mm-hmm. Right. Totally.
Right.
What's that quote? It's like so good and I can never remember it. That it's like the stages of like first you're ridiculed and like mocked. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then it like comes out the other end. It's
truth, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, first it's ignored.
Yep.
Then it's vehemently opposed. Mm-hmm. And then it's widely accepted.
Yeah. Totally.
Those are the 3 stages of all truths.
I knew you would know that.
I don't know why I knew that. I haven't heard that in a year.
Totally.
Yeah, it's like from a Dr. Francis seminar, I think.
Yeah, it totally is. Okay, so...
I might have said that. That might be on his side. He's smart.
Stealing from taking Dr. Francis uses it. Okay, so you're in your car, you pray for protection, all that. Then, like, during the day... What are your practices to keep your energy up there? Like, do you eat a certain way? Do you have a certain exercise you do, like, in between patients to protect yourself again?
Yep. So I'll see, 8 to 13 people in the morning before lunch. So I'll get up, get ready. Obviously, that's the morning that I told you about. And then I pretty much go straight through. I don't have enough time. Because I have 2 rooms that are right next to each other, and I just go back and forth between the rooms and just give people my all. That's basically what I do. Yeah. And then at lunch, I need to eat a good lunch. I actually eat a lot. Like I don't eat really a light lunch. I eat a pretty good amount. Like I had a 3-egg omelet today for lunch. I love omelets. And I will occasionally do coffee. I try not to do it that much, but sometimes if I know I have a really long day or I was like really up late studying or something like that, I'll have some coffee in the morning to get me going. But overall, like I don't really need it. I just kind of like the taste of it, so I've been going decaf a lot.
Right. Totally.
Yeah, and then I'll take an afternoon dose of the supplements that I'm taking. I take a mineral-based supplement, and I take an adrenal-based supplement, and I take a probiotic-based supplement. Those are my 3 that I'll rotate around. And then you add a few things in here and there as you tweak and heal, but those are my 3 staples.
Right. Totally.
Yeah.
Nice. And then do you have any sort of routine like at night when you're done?
Yeah, so I get home and I lift. So like I got random. I don't know. You want me to? That I have heavy equipment right there.
Nice.
That's
Yep.
300 pounds in the deadlift. I just hit that the other day. I was super excited.
Nice.
Yeah, so obviously the stronger that you are, the better in shape. It's kind of like I kind of approach it like hockey. I remember when I was playing in high school, the way that I got to the MVP level and the All-Star level was that after practice I would go work out.
Right.
So like if you do what everyone else is doing, you'll get what everyone else gets. And so if you want to live a life that no one gets to live, you have to do what people are not willing to do.
Right.
And so I learned that from my dad. My dad was I think he finished sixth in the country in wrestling in college, and he was a spot at the Olympics. And he was in amazing shape and used to run after wrestling practices, which are notoriously hard in general. And I kind of learned that work ethic and style from him there. And I applied it to hockey, and now I apply it to healing. And so, they were a full. I think that anyone from chiropractors to moms to school teachers to whatever, they need to be approaching themselves like an athlete.
Yeah, I totally agree.
You know what I mean? I've heard a mom laugh at me, but I was like, well, you have the most important job on the planet. You have to raise a human being.
Right. Totally.
And you have to pick them up. They're like 50 pounds.
Right.
And you got to run around all day and do like 400 million things. Single moms blow my mind. Right. I have no idea how they do it.
Totally. Yeah.
Or just any moms, like single or not.
Right.
Unbelievable. Just anybody, in general, from any aspect of life, have a lot on their table in 2018 right now.
Yeah.
And I just think that you have to get better every day physically, you have to get better every day emotionally, you have to get better every day mentally, and you have to get better every day spiritually. And if you do those four things, James Altucher wrote an article, you'd be the luckiest man in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I even tell my patients that are in corporate America, traveling all the time, whatever, crazy. I tell them, I'm like, you're an athlete. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, you work insane hours. You're go, go, go. You never stop. If you want to perform at your best, look what the professional athletes do. Tom Brady, perfect example. Everyone thought he was crazy. Yeah. He eats perfectly. He sees holistic practitioners, gets acupuncture, chiropractic, all that stuff. He does all the different healing modalities that no one else does. He treats his body like a well-oiled, maintained machine. Yeah. And he's the oldest in the NFL and performs the best still. So you can apply that to anything, whether it be
new and up here.
Totally. But he's a perfect example, and people know it. And people made fun of him for a long time. You can still find articles that are yeah, he thinks his diet, whatever, and it's look at the dude. There's people 20 years younger than him, more injured and worse shape. Cannot die.
It has 5 bling rings.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, beat that.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Yeah. So I use that example with people all the time. It doesn't just apply to athletes. If you want to perform the best in whatever you do, whether it's a mom or a business person or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Treat your body the same way.
Yeah. I think so. So when I come home, I will pick up a Whole Foods hot bar or something like that on the way home, and I'll come home and I'll lift, and for 20 to 30 minutes max, a lot of times 15 because I got gym ADD. I actually bought weights because I don't like going to the gym that much, and then I just lift really heavy. I do a series of compound movements, and then I eat, and then I have a chance to kind of do whatever I want to do after that.
Yep.
Whether I get to wind down, spend time with my fiance, read, watch some YouTube videos on some cool things that I'm interested in. I don't watch a lot of TV. I think that Netflix, binge watching Netflix is a serious detriment to society, but I'm the weirdo on that.
Didn't we work on that with you?
Well, yeah. It's oh my god.
Netflix.
My fiance, she's why don't you want to watch that? I'm oh.
Totally. Okay, one more question on kind of the spirituality side of things, and then I want to bridge into adrenal fatigue and all that.
Sure.
So do you see a correlation? We know in health and wellness, every chronic disease is skyrocketing, right? From cancer, diabetes, heart disease, allergies, obesity, right? The rates are just going up. Do you feel like there's also or has been, I feel like it's kind of at a tipping point now, but spirituality has kind of been on a downslope and disease is going like this?
Wow, that's deep, girl. Now, when you say spirituality is going like this, are you referring are you referring to like spiritual people? Are you referring to religious people? Are you referring to people that are spiritual but don't necessarily recognize as a religion?
I feel like it's kind of all of it. I mean, like, I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like even our parents' generation, or even a generation before them, almost everyone was like, whether they even really connected or believed it or not, everyone went to church like every Sunday. You grew up like doing whatever you do. Step into our generation, most people are like maybe you have a religion, maybe you don't, maybe you go once a year to like Christmas Mass.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, people aren't really plugged into that. I feel like our generation is kind of plugging back into that. But I feel like there's been this disconnect, or like people almost don't talk about it. About connection to spirituality. So I feel like there's been kind of this weird inverse relationship between kind of a disconnect from God, higher power, source, universal intelligence, whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
But so like a disconnect from that and a rise in all these health issues.
I mean, the universe is set up spiritual, mental, emotional, physical.
Yeah.
So if you got a bunch of physical stuff showing up, there is no way that there's not stuff going on in the higher realms.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. Yeah. So, I think you definitely see an increase in that. And, I mean, you obviously see it in an increase. Like some of the most interesting people I talk to are teachers that have taught for more than 30 years, because they've seen generations of kids, and all of them are like, we have seen a generational weakness in kids.
Yes.
Not weakness, I shouldn't say like weakness, but just like a gradual demise. And there's like my fiance's in special ed because there's so many special ed kids that are coming on.
Yes.
That was never the case 30 years ago.
Right. And people will argue that it's, we just didn't know how to diagnose it or classify it yet. But the teachers will argue that because they'll say, no, there was not one autistic kid in my classroom 20 years ago. Whether they were labeled or not, like those issues just weren't there. So
I talked to Allie about Allie's my fiance. She said that literally every single one, almost every single one, like 95% of them come from broken families.
Wow.
Every one of the kids in her class, it comes from a broken family. And the only kid that doesn't have a broken family, they're getting divorced right now.
Yeah.
So it's about to be 100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you tell me what the highest relationship theoretically is, which is marriage. All these kids being born into broken houses.
Right. Stress, emotional stress absolutely impacts their health.
I mean, there's a great thing that's happening right now, which is an awareness of ACEs, which is adverse childhood experiences. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of them. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I treat in Portland, Maine, and I treat in upstate Maine. It's a town called Bridgeton, and there is a significant difference socioeconomically between the two, and there is a significant difference in the amount of child abuse, sexual abuse, all types of abuse that I see in Bridgeton versus the coastal city of Portland. I mean, there's so much in the country compared to the city, and I don't know whether it's socioeconomic based. Don't know how much of it is related to spirituality or not, but people got hammered there, and that's one of my missions is to help people with that. And I literally had a woman this morning just broke down crying and told me like some really rough things that happened to her from 13 to 15 years old, and my heart just went out to her. And she told me something that she's never told anybody, and I can't say it on the air because it'll be confidentiality, but like if you don't see someone as your spiritual brother or sister, and you aren't trying to love people, and you think that the world is all about you, then you're missing the boat. Right. Totally. I don't know if that answered your question or not, but
it answered my question.
That's kind of the side there.
I mean, my question was also not a question. It was just let's open a can of worms and talk about it. So
and you also see a rise in people just trying to like intellectually understand things, and there's things that are obviously unexplainable. I mean, like for instance, the Big Bang, right? It was like people think that that's the origin of the universe, and it may or may not be. But how could you have increasing orders of complexity and order come from an explosion?
Right.
How could everything come from nothing?
Right.
If there wasn't an intelligent design behind it.
Right.
It's just impossible.
Right.
But people get really angry about that, so I won't. It's unbelievable. Look at the A bomb in Nagasaki and Hiroshima, and you're telling me that the order of the universe came from an explosion like that? No way.
Right. Totally.
They still haven't recovered since the 40s or whatever.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right.
Anyways.
Okay. Now we're going to talk adrenals. So for those of you that don't know, Dr. Christian is like the adrenal guru. And like I spoke about earlier, he's come out with his own adrenal product. And we'll link in the interview, you guys, so you know his website and stuff. He's got a fabulous resource on there, a quiz you can take to kind of gauge where your adrenal system is at and what type of support you might need. Well, before we started, I took it again for myself because I don't even know the last time I took your quiz. And I was at 22, which I was pretty happy about because I swear before I've been in like the 70s.
Yeah, when I started I was 58.
Yeah, so it's like stage 1. This is good. But you guys should totally take the quiz and see, and he's got recommendations on his supplement based on where you fall in the quiz of how much you should take. So it's an awesome resource. I have my patients take it sometimes and monitor where they're at, so it's really great. So thanks for creating that.
Yeah, my pleasure.
But I'd love for you guys to give the listeners a quick breakdown of like what are the adrenal glands, why are they important to look at?
Sure. The adrenal glands are these little walnut-sized glands. They sit right on top of the kidney. So ad is Latin for top, renal is Latin for kidney. And so hence the little organ that sits on top of your kidneys. And the adrenals are responsible for like every single cell in the body. They make two different things that make it really interesting to me. They make hormones and neurotransmitters, which is fabulous because that impacts every single cell in the body. So they make 3 classes of hormones. The medical mnemonic is salt, sugar, and sex. The deeper you go, the sweeter it gets. That's the medical school mnemonic, and that's how you remember it. And then they make, of course, adrenaline, which everyone knows is adrenal adrenaline, and obviously noradrenaline. So that impacts so many different systems in the body because it's hormones and neurotransmitters. You have so many symptoms that don't seemingly look correlated, such as anxiety and low back pain. They're correlated, such as low morning energy and inability to fall asleep at night, and like tendinitis. They're all interrelated. So it's something that I was really passionate about because when I was, I think, 3rd semester chiropractic school, I had burnt out doing 100 hours a week, and I know that you have an experience with that too. When you put in long hours. The adrenals handle all the stress in your life. And Hans Selye was the medical doctor that founded all this stuff. And he actually described stress as any external demand on the body. I have a lot of guys that are in my practice that are like, I'm not stressed. And I was like, well, you worked 14 hours today. Is that stressful? And they're like, well, yeah, but I don't feel stressed. I'm like,
you're stressed.
Any external demand on the body. Right. So that's physically, if you're a workaholic, you're stressed out.
Yep.
Right. If you're sitting in the cold in Maine like I am, that is a thermal stress. Right. So you have thermal stress in the body. It's trying to regulate your body temperature from 98.6 degrees. So if it's 100 outside, your body's facing thermal stress, and the adrenals actually have to meet that demand. And then you throw in marriage and kids and job and career and your own spirituality and your own ego, and trying to obviously knock out the ego and grow, then you have other stressors. And so the adrenals have to handle all of that. And so my adrenals were so shot that I almost considered dropping out of chiropractic school. And I knew that was my purpose, and I was ready to quit. And I was eating well, I was exercising well, I was, praying, I was getting adjusted, I was doing everything right. Like I I hadn't had a piece of chocolate in 4 months. I'm not kidding you. That's how anal I was.
Right.
And obviously I do now, but I'm more balanced. And I walked in Saturday morning to a seminar, and I think it was actually Dr. Derek Simpson, and he tested me. And he was like, dude, your adrenals are shot. Like, you need adrenals, like 1 per hour for 2 weeks. That's how gassed I was. And I remember taking them and being like, I remember the next day, vividly remember saying this, wow, the lights turned back on.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And I was never really the same after that. I was just like so excited that I could be alive again and just operate at a high level.
Function in society. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Like, like so many people want to like shut people down and say, oh, no, you can't do that. You can't do this. You can't do that. And I'm like, well, if that's part of your purpose, how do we get you there? And
totally. That's why, with the right support, you can.
Yeah. That's why I love the adrenals, because they allow you to run harder, play harder.
Totally. It's like a biohack.
What's that?
It's like a biohack. Support your adrenals.
It is the best biohack that I found, and I've done a lot.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. So tell our listeners about your adrenal supplement, what's in it, why you created it like the way it is.
Sure. Yeah, so I actually got it right here. I call it Adrenal Recharge, and I have the label is set up like a battery because, who isn't gassed? And they're color-coded because Hans Selye was the medical doctor that found the 3 stages of adrenal fatigue. And well, sort of 4, but I go by 3: alarm, resistance, and exhaustion. And the colors are related to the quiz online. You can see on my website. And so basically, the way that I designed it was a lot because of what happened to me personally in digging me out, and what the doctors had recommended to me. And then along my own personal journey over the last 3 years of testing and treating patients and seeing what actually worked in the real world. Like, there's a lot of theory out there of like, oh, this could be for that, and this could be for that. But like, what happens when a patient shows up in your office and they're like, I need you to help me?
Right.
Can you help me? And then like some things that you gave them, like you're like, man, I know like all the research says that should work, or all the advice said that should work, and it doesn't work. And you're like, what do you do?
Right.
You got to evolve and you got to learn. And so all the things that I learned over the years, I put into this formula, and that's basically how I did it. So it's a combination of the adaptogens. So if adaptogens, for those that don't know, are a class of herbs that help the body to adapt to life or to stress. And the herbs are actually grown in really harsh environments because they're really good at adapting to harsh things. So, when you put them into your body, essentially, there's all sorts of like cool chemical things and molecules that are helping your body, and they name them these cool names and things like that. But essentially, they're helping you to adapt to the amount of stress in your lifestyle, and so your body gets stronger, and that's essentially what it is.
Right. Totally.
Yeah. So there's a series of adaptogens. It's ashwagandha, eleuthero, panax, ginseng, astragalus, rhodiola, licorice, suma root, and holy basil. And that's the blend that I found works really best. I'm still testing and R&Ding to see if I can optimize it. And then the adrenal glands love vitamin B6 and they love vitamin C. And I have acerola fruit because it's whole food C. Because ascorbic acid alone isn't enough. You need a whole food vitamin C.
Yep. Totally.
And that's the backbone. Oh, and I added L-tyrosine too. I forgot to add that. So L-tyrosine is a unique amino acid because it is. So the thyroid needs L-tyrosine to make thyroid hormone, and the adrenals need L-tyrosine to make adrenaline. So people that are under a lot of stress and they're using a lot of adrenaline to get through their day, and they're working 12-hour days, and then they're coming home from their jobs and they're making dinner for their kids, and they're putting them in tubby time, and then they're putting them to bed, and they're running around, and they just have all this stuff that's going on. You're using a lot of adrenaline, so you're spending a lot of nutrients, and L-tyrosine is one of them. So then the body gets depleted of L-tyrosine, and then the thyroid's like, hey, I need L-tyrosine to make thyroid hormone, which affects every single cell in the body, affects your metabolism. I don't have enough. And then people have thyroid symptoms. They go to the doctor, and then the doctor says, there's nothing wrong with you. It's all in your head. Your thyroid's fine.
Right.
When it can actually be a nutritional thing, and really actually an adrenal thing. Most thyroid things are adrenals.
Totally. Awesome. All right. Cool. So we'll talk more about that at the end, where you guys can go to learn more about his supplement and order it, and he's got a great offer for you. So I want to ask you a few more fun personal questions while we wrap up. What books are you reading right now?
Ooh, what books am I reading right now? All right, so this is going to be a different question.
Okay.
On a different answer. I'm actually trying to read less, which is insane that I'm even saying that. Because it's not like, actually, I'm not actually reading less. I'm reading a lot. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to reconnect with my heart more.
Yep.
And so there's an aspect on the spirituality path where you switch from an outer consumption to an inner consumption. So they say that, whether it's Buddha or Jesus or any of the spiritual gurus out there, they all say all your answers are within you. Mm-hmm. Right? So if that's true, and if they're not lying, then you have to go inside of you to find all the answers to all the things that you actually need the answers to. Right. So if that was the case, what if we spend more time looking within versus looking without?
Totally.
So I'm working on that. The book I'm currently reading is, it's not really a book, it's a seminar class, because I just took a class on glutathione, so I'm reading through all the notes.
Oh, nice. Nerd alert. Yeah.
What's that?
I said nerd alert.
Nerd alert. So glutathione's the most important molecule in the body. It's a tripeptide. It's got 3 amino acids, so I'm learning about all these, hitting biochem again.
Yeah. Did that make you want to create a glutathione supplement?
Girl, you already... Yeah,
I know you. I know you.
So Adrenal Recharge 2 will be coming out, and the 3 amino acids that go in glutathione will be in that product because I like to put more value without people even realizing how much is going into it.
Totally.
Right,
there you have it.
Yeah, give it a couple months.
What advice would you give your younger self?
What advice would I give my younger self? How young?
Let's say that Cairo age when you were crashing and ready to drop out. Mm-hmm. Knowing what you know now with the wisdom you now have.
This is great. All right, so I'll answer this question. So I met this doc, super interesting doc that sat next to me at we did a big doctor dinner after this seminar 4 days ago. And she had written a book on expanding upon body types and then correlating them with personality traits. Mm-hmm. And so me being me, I was like, so what body type am I? Can you read me? I was like, yeah, why not? And she looks at me up and down, and I'm like, all right, this is interesting. Right. And she goes, oh, you have a fear of failure. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, oh man. All right. So, and she was like, all right, so you can clear the fear of failure, and you can clear all this stuff that goes with that. And I said, I've been working on that, and I have. Right. But she said, you also have to understand the positive side of it. And it's not just the duality side. It's not just fear of failure and then the positive is I am successful.
Right.
And just hit that with an affirmation a lot of people do. I am successful, I am successful, I am successful. Right. It's actually she was talking to me about this. It's actually the understanding of the positive aspect of that. And she asked me what that was and I wasn't exactly sure. And she said it's unfoldment. And I had never heard of that before. I thought that was just floored. So she went on to explain that unfoldment was actually the fact that it's not about success or failure. It's about unfolding along the path and learning the lesson. And you don't always know what's going to happen next. That's the point. It's also what makes it exciting and it's what makes it, a little bit fearful for some people because they don't know and they want to elicit control. Right. And there's a sense you want to control your environment, but control just comes from a lack of wisdom and a lack of, embracing unfoldment. Right. And so along your path, just trust. What was I going to say? The guy, Steve Jobs. The guy. Yeah. Steve Jobs was kind of sneaky spiritual. When he, in one of his last addresses before he passed away, he said, "Follow your heart because for some reason it knows exactly where you need to be." And this has come from a CEO of a company that's changed every single person on this planet in some way or another and will continue to for years. They have $261 billion in cash on their balance sheet. They can do whatever they want. That's a sidebar there. So I would say embrace the unfoldment. Yeah. Get a little bit better every day, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically in life, and seek your purpose, love people, serve people, and you'll be fine.
Totally.
That's what I would say.
I love it. Okay. This is going to be a hard question.
Good. Give it to me.
If you could have dinner with one person, living or dead, who would it be?
Jesus, without a doubt. That's not
hard.
hard.
It's not a hard question.
That's too easy, dude. Jesus. He was like, healed. Done.
Right.
He walked on water. Like, he turned 2 fishes and 5 loaves and fed 5,000 people. Like, he died and came back from the dead. Like, regardless of what you believe about the guy, he did some really cool things on this planet, whether or not he's your savior or not.
Right.
It would be really interesting to have a conversation with him. Yeah. I would love that. My name is Christian. Like,
right.
I'm a
Hello.
follower of Christ.
You were named perfectly.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I always say that to people. Love me some Jesus. And I wasn't like, I'm not like an outwardly like super religious person. I actually don't think that like God really likes religion. He likes relationships.
Right.
And he wants to have a relationship with you.
I like that.
Yeah, so less religion, more relationships would do the world a heck of a lot of good.
Totally.
Yeah.
I thought I would stump you on the dinner question, but I
yeah, dude, Jesus all day, every day.
All right. My last question is, what's next for you? What's next for Dr. Christian Carroll?
Ooh, I love that. I'm a future-looking person. I don't look in the past that much, unless I'm trying to do like healing work. But next for Dr. Carroll is, I'm getting married this summer. That's super exciting. In July, 7/7, getting married. Woo woo. And so I'm marrying the girl of my dreams. That's awesome. I moved to Maine 11 and a half months ago, so I'm building a practice up here and loving that. So the next would be probably Adrenal Recharge 2, because I just love innovating and trying to help people heal faster and faster. So I'm always trying to come up with ideas and different things to help people heal faster and faster. I would like to make some YouTube videos and just help people similar to this. This is kind of a neat foray for me to impact people that I can't see in the office, or that don't live in Maine or don't live in Massachusetts where I used to practice. Sure. So that's it. Having a great first year of marriage, growing spiritually, getting closer to God, coming out with new supplements for people, trying to get people better as fast as possible, and then doing some boating this summer. I'm excited for that too.
Nice. I love it. Okay, so last but not least, how can our listeners find or keep in touch with you? What's your website, your social media, all that stuff?
Sure. Facebook.com / or whatever it is, Dr. Christian Carroll.
Yep.
That's one. That's Facebook. And then my website is drchristianmcarroll.com. For some reason, the other one was taken. So my middle name is Michael. So that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
yeah. And we will link that all for you guys in the show notes, his website, his social, that stuff, so you can keep in touch if you'd like. And Dr. Carroll has very generously come up with an offer for everyone. It's going to be a 24% savings on his product, Adrenal Recharge. So you can take the quiz, add up your total, and either go by his suggestions, ask your healthcare practitioner what they think, how it would work for you. But it's a beautiful product. I've used it myself. I've used it with patients. It's awesome. So it's just going to be $25 a bottle, which is a great savings. So the coupon code will be MBS Summit for Mind, Body, Spirit Summit. And that will be in the notes as well. So you guys can use that and help heal your adrenals. Thanks to Dr. Christian.
And if you guys have any other questions, feel free to Facebook message me, like the messenger or whatever that is. I got to get better at returning that. I'm treating all day, but I want to be able to help more people than I can just see in an office day. That's part of the reason why I'm doing things like this. There's so many people out there hurting, and so many people out there with questions, and there's so much garbage information on the internet. I'm stoked that Dr. Abby and her team is putting this together. So it's a really awesome resource.
Totally. Thank you. Yep. So feel free to keep in touch. Check out the notes for the discounts and how to keep in touch. And thank you, Christian, for your time.
My pleasure.
Great. All right. Talk soon.
Take care.